Drug abuse and alcoholism in the workplace across America and other places in the world is a very serious concern. Some of the main reasons, some of the main problems that occur when alcoholism happens in the workplace are premature death or fatal accidents, injuries, absenteeism, extra sick leave, and a very high loss of production in the office. Some additional problems are tardiness and sleeping on the job, theft, poor decision making, loss of efficiency, lower morale of coworkers, increased likelihood of having trouble with coworkers, supervisors, or tasks, a high turnover, training of new employees can be highly affected, and disciplinary procedures across the office or workplace. The particular industries that are highly affected by alcoholism or controlled substance abuse in the workplace are food services, construction, mining and drilling, excavation, contracting work, such as installation, maintenance, repair, and many other physical outdoor jobs. One reason you see this happening is because alcohol is the single most abused drug in America. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, nearly 14 million Americans, which is 1 in every 13 adults, abuses alcohol or are alcoholics. And several million more adults engage in risky drinking patterns that lead to alcohol problems. Many studies show that it has caused many traffic accidents on the way home from work and other accidents. It also is reported that it costs the American economy between $33 billion and $68 billion per year. And as far as absenteeism in the workplace, it is reported to be 4 to 8 times greater. An alarming fact is that breathalyzer tests detected alcohol in 16% of emergency room patients injured at work. This stat is far too high. Among the problems I mentioned earlier, I will look into them deeper now. One of them was behavior at work. These include the smell of alcohol on someone while at work, being unsteady, having bloodshot eyes, their mood or behavior. An excessive use of mouthwash is obviously a hint. The avoidance of supervisor contact, especially after lunch. Tremors, or sleeping on duty. There are a number of programs set up to help these people in need and having problems in the workplace. Many employee assistance programs across the nation, known as EPAs, have been very helpful in giving people confidence and the wherewithal to be sober at work. These programs are always staffed by professional counselors and may be operated in-house with agency personnel. The counselor will go to the workplace, meet with the person in need, look over the diagnosis, and then help them from there. The supervisor plays a very key role in this process. It is very important for them, if they suspect an alcoholic problem in the office occurring, for them to report it and talk to the employee themselves to work out the problem. This graph here represents the percentage of alcoholics per job in America. I will now read the testimony of Roger Ebert and how it affected him throughout his life. And I quote him. In August 1979, I took my last drink. It was about 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, the hot sun streaming through the windows of my little carriage house on Dickens. I put a glass of scotch and a soda down on the living room table, went to bed and pulled the blankets over my head. I couldn't take it anymore. On Monday, I went to visit wise old Dr. Jacob Schlichter. I'd been seeing him for a year, telling him I thought I might be drinking too much. He agreed and advised me to go to AA. Sounded like a place where they taught you to drink and drive. I said I didn't need to go to any meetings. I would stop drinking on my own. He told me to go ahead and try, and check back with him every month. The problem with using willpower for me was it lasted only until we were persuaded. At about this time, I was reading The Art of Eating. M.F.K. Fisher wrote, "One martini is just right. 2 martinis are too many. 3 martinis are never enough. The problem with making resolutions is that you're sober when you make the first one, have had 1 drink when you make the second one, and so on. I've also heard you take the first drink, the second drink takes itself, and that was my problem. I found it difficult once I started to stop after 1 or 2. If I could, I would continue until I decided I was finished, which was usually some hours later. The next day, I paid the price in hangovers." What follows is a testimony from a woman named Tony, who was part of the AA program.
Hi, I'm Tony and I'm an alcoholic. My story is that I started drinking at a fairly young age. I came from a fairly well home, a good family, but I always felt I had a lot of anxiety. I grew up, I had everything really I wanted, but it was just never enough. And so I discovered alcohol and I drank. And my parents told me either I had to get my life together or they just couldn't help me anymore. So eventually I did walk into a room, and I was the only female at that stage. But then these men became my home. They were my family, and they got me sober. And I had a lovely man who was my sponsor, and he looked after me. And I was sober for 10 years. And eventually I did move interstate, and I thought, oh, maybe I don't need to go to meetings anymore. Maybe I'm going to be fine. But as we deal with alcohol, which is cunning, baffling and powerful, as we know, in AA, it is cunning, and it tricked me. And it wasn't until one day, after I had been sober for such a long time, I did take that first drink, and it is a chemical reaction. And I started taking, just a couple of glasses of wine, and I thought, no, look, I'm going to be fine. And 5 years later, I was back to drinking more, and I was in 2 bottles a night, and I would always go out with friends, but I'd always make an excuse to leave early so I could come home and really get myself to how I wanted to feel. So eventually I got to the point that one night I was so drunk, and my legs were shaking, it was uncontrollable, and I couldn't stop vomiting, diarrhea. So I ended up getting someone to take me to a doctor, and they had to give me something to calm me down. And the only way I knew that I was going to get sober was to go back to AA. And I walked into this meeting, and it had been such a long time since I had been to a meeting. And I walked in there, and I sat at the back, and it was different since my last meeting. And they said, anyone in their first 90 days, please stand up, and I did. And everyone clapped, and it just made me feel, and I knew straight in my heart that I'm back where I belong. And now, even though it's only been 4.5 months, a lot of my anxiety has gone. I don't feel lonely. I feel that I have the strength and the capacity to go on. And